Hey everybody, I'm Scott Stanton, the Tombstone tourist, and as you can see, we're not in a cemetery, we're not outdoors. It's a little too cold for that, so I thought now would be a perfect time, now that we're back up in the northeast quarter of the world, right on the coast. It's a little chilly today, it's a little rainy, so let's do something indoors. And today, we are going to visit a subject that I have no idea who it was until I did the biography. This was sent in by our good friend Maud in Paris, France. And as you know, she spends almost all summer traveling, and I get these great packages, and I get really excited and a sense of dread every time I get them because I know they're going to be spectacular, and then I'm going to feel, what's the word, uneducated or undereducated, because I've had a few years of college. I went to school, got a degree or two, and but I think most of the time I spent it under a double secret probation. So maybe I should have paid more attention to especially world history. And today is no exception. So when I got it and I opened up the package and I watched it, I go, who the heck is this? So let's start right at the beginning. Okay, we're going to be in a small town known as Montfauvet, in France. It's in the south of France, about 30 minutes from the coast. And there's a public cemetery known as Cemetery de Montparnasse-Avignon. Okay? Beautiful cemetery. All French cemeteries are beautiful. They know how to do that, right? And it's on a single level, so very easy to walk. And so let's start right at the beginning. I think we all know who Rodin is, right? He was that famous sculptor in Paris in the 1800s and early 1900s. And he did The Thinker. You can't go to any of the major museums like the Louvre or Musée d'Orsay without seeing his work. And it's spectacular. Okay, side note. If you go to Paris, those are the two big museums, d'Orsay and Louvre. The Louvre is huge, and it's overwhelming, and it's got things like 12th century Chinese vases, dozens of them, and I didn't study that. I don't know anything about it. It's kind of lost to me. It's got the Mona Lisa though, but for my money, go to the d'Orsay. It's so beautiful. It's so accessible. There are French painters, there are American painters, and they have a lot of Rodin stuff there. So check it out. Anyway, and the third museum is our subject that we're talking about, is, speaking of Rodin, is the Rodin Museum, which is his home, and the garden has the Thinker, and it's also got this side building where is his studio with all his unfinished works of art, and it's just incredible, just incredible. And today's subject was his assistant, Camille Claudel. Now, Camille was a young woman, very talented. She was trained earlier in her youth with one sculptor, and he said, I can't teach you anymore, so I'm going to pass you off to the great Rodin. And she became his assistant. And of course, being a younger woman and a big age difference, he had an affair. They had an affair. I'm not going to go down that road because that's a whole video book on itself, but just suffice that they had an affair, long term. And she worked for him. She did a lot of his casting. She did a lot of his ideas. She drew out ideas on paper, and she was an amazing sculptor and truly one of the underappreciated greats in the last 100 years. So around 1905, Camille was born around 1864, somewhere in there, so it gives you an idea how old she was. And in around 1905, Rodin said, hey, it's been fun, it's been great, but I'm going to go marry this woman. And you will not believe this, but Camille did not take that too well. And she went back to her studio. She started destroying things that she had built for Rodin and all that. And she was also angry because he took a lot of her material. Let's just call it what it was. He plagiarized it or stole it. Because back then, the male artists, hard to believe again, did not take her seriously. It was a boys' club, and she was one of the few women that was even considered to be in that club. And she destroyed all this stuff. She went a little crazy, as they say. Who wouldn't? And she disappeared for days, weeks, months at a time. And then they'd find her. All of a sudden, she'd be sleeping in her studio, and she wouldn't talk to anybody. And then she'd have these outbursts. And some people labeled that as crazy. Midlife crisis, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I wasn't there. But this comes in the next part of our story. Her father was very generous. He gave her the space. He helped her out financially when she needed it, but he understood the art she was doing. He really understood his own daughter and encouraged her to continue on because he saw the genius in her. And I'm not using that term lightly. She was an artistic genius. Her father passed away, and within days, the mother and her younger brother had her committed. That's right. They put her in an insane asylum. And they said, she's nuts. Women aren't artists, and she has outbursts, and we don't want to deal with this. So they put her in an asylum, and she rotted there for 30 years. And this is despite the fact that Rodin and other great artists wrote affidavits. The medical team there said she does not belong here. She was there for 30 years, and she died in that institution after 30 years of starvation, a stroke due to starvation. And here's one of the last pictures of her with one of her great understudies. This is one of the last pictures that she took. You can see she's quite old, and she looks great, and she carried on a conversation. She was not insane in the least bit. So after she died, very few people attended the funeral. She was buried in the cemetery, the public cemetery there. And there is a memorial there. Now, that is not where she's buried today. And buried is using a term lightly. Within days, her younger brother, the one keeping her in the asylum, had her dug up and thrown in the ossuary in the corner of the cemetery. This is basically a giant concrete bunker, and they take the indigent and people like that, and they tossed her body in there unceremoniously, and there she is. And the ossuary, I don't think I have a picture. I'll try to put it up. But there's no mention of her name on that or anything. It holds literally hundreds, if not thousands of people through the ages. But this memorial that we're going to show you is where everybody goes today. And she finally, after 30 years, got her due. People really now understand who she is and the greatness that we missed out on 30 years that she couldn't practice her art. And in fact, the Rodin Museum has a side room dedicated entirely to her works of art. And, come on, everybody's dead, so they did a great job in recognizing her contributions. Rather than, if you want, come to my website, and trust me, my website is more than just pictures of the memorial and the cemetery and stuff like that. I have interviews and videos and all that great stuff about her art. You get to know her intimately, and my research team does a great job in putting those chapters together. So come on out to my website, thetombstonetourist.com. You will not be disappointed. So to tell you where she's buried, in fact, rather than tell you, I'm going to roll the tape. Thank you, Mode, and here we go. Let's go for the visit.
Oui, il faut attendre des occasions.